We all say that we don't want to set the world on fire, but I don't believe you. Especially not in Fallout. By Fantasy Flight Games, Fallout is 1 to 4 players, and it allows you to play through quite a few different missions. It's really a different style game. I think you're going to like it. So we'll get looking at it now. See you in a minute. As we said, Fallout is a 1 to 4 player board game where you're going to be going through and adventuring and trying to find the answer to some mystery. Now, what mystery is that? I'm glad you asked. It's why we're here together. You are going to start by picking a scenario card. The scenario card has a map that you're going to build, and build it exactly as they say, with set locations and randomized location tiles. One of the things I do like about this game, before we get into all of it, is that it has a rules reference, but it also has a handy learn to play guide. And those are going to be a big help when you're trying to figure out exactly how to play if you need help. I recommend you go through that learn to play guide first before you do anything. To start this off, I will not ever play this game unless it has the Atomic Bonds expansion, because Atomic Bonds takes it from competitive, and turns it cooperative. Other than that, I won't play it. But you set out your map as your scenario states, and put out any objective markers as it tells you. And up here in the very top, it tells you to do something like staging cards, setting up cards, and so on. We'll get to that in a second, but it tells you to place the tower tile face up, which we did, and put a star on it. Then it tells us to put place a quest marker. In this quest is a downed vertibird. So one of those things wrecked, and it's going to be up to us to check it out. But at the very top, it tells you to stage 44. Now, what does staging mean? What does 44 mean? That's a whole lot of stuff right away. Especially during the setup. Well, you're going to have this deck. This deck is the story deck. It's the adventure deck. It's what you're going to be going through and trying to, figure out the mystery. And when it says to stage 44, what it means is you find card 44 and read it and put it out in front of you. Now 44 says, welcome to the Capital Wasteland. It has a story on it, and it's nice because it gives us options. First one says, look for survivors, or find someone who knows what the heck just happened. They don't say heck, but that's what I'm going to say. And you get to choose, and you get to decide which path you want to take on this whole adventure thing. Also during the setup, again, there are, if you get all of the expansions, there's 10 different setup cards. There's even some that look the same. So this one says the Capital Wasteland. This is the Capital Wasteland expanded. It's a much bigger map that you get to play with. And then they have Far Harbor, the Pit, what else? Far Harbor, the Pit, New California, and the Commonwealth, as well as Rise of the Master. But I picked, well, the Capital Wasteland. So that's what we set up. We got our card, and again, with the Atomic Bonds, you're going to also pick one of these cards that matches the name. So since we picked Capital Wasteland, we then have to decide, oh, here I go messing up the map. That is one of the pains in the butt about it, is there's a lot of tiles that you got to keep nice and pretty until you decide not to. But once you decide which scenario you're using and which one you've set up and put out, Then you'll have to decide what side you're going to be on. So you have the Brotherhood of Steel, or you have the Enclave. We're going to play as the Brotherhood of Steel, so we take the opposite token, because we're a star, we take the opposite token and put it on the first one. If this token ever gets to the bottom, then the Enclave wins. However, if we complete the objective as it states, and each card will tell you how you're going to win. This one says 1 goal per survivor, so we have these goals here we can complete. Or I should say, and complete the End Justice for All card, number 55. How do we get to number 55? Well, that's the exploring, that's completing these scenarios, these parts of the card, as we travel through. So let's put that here. What else is neat is it tells you what to do when you find certain enemies, like when you're trying to fight the Enclave enemy. It tells you which one you're going to fight. It's pretty neat. I like it. I really do. So I picked my survivor. I chose the Lone Gunslinger, and then she comes with a card. She also gets 1 special token, and when you're doing setup, you also draw another special token. And this is your experience track up here, and it tells you how long until you get another special token. So when you gain experience from beating monsters or doing these objectives, you track it not through each spot, but only on spots where you actually have a special token. So if I were to get 3 experience, I would go 1, 2, 3, and then I would get another special token, and then put 1 in here. We also start off with 3 caps, which, you know, isn't much, but you'll get there. You'll get a lot more as we go. But this deck of, it says 244, but it's not 244 cards, because some cards are multiples. What's neat with the multiple cards is you shuffle and you pick one, so you don't know which one you're going to get. And there's a few of those that can lead to different branches, different paths. So yeah, so we set up our character, we set up our board, grabbed the character, grabbed her mini, and I put her on the camp over here, Sanctuary, which is usually what that is. We set up the store, and the store is a set of cards, only 4 cards, that you can go whenever you get to certain places. It'll give you the option to buy when you encounter, and you can spend your caps and buy things. These are items you can find when you're exploring or when you defeat monsters. These are special items. These were, oh my gosh, what were they called again? I believe these were called workshop upgrades. These are modification cards. Again, you're going to get them when you complete stories and objectives and so on. These are your perk cards, which again, if you've played the game enough, you know what perks are. So let's say you're trying to level up. When you level up your character, you draw a new special token. Special tokens are nice because when you're trying to do something, you're going to roll the bats dice, these guys right here. And if you have a special token equal to one of the letters that's listed with the challenge, which we'll show you then you get to re-roll one of them. So the more of them you have, the better. But let's say I have an L and an S. So if I draw an S, I can't gain another one. So what I do instead is I look through the perk deck for all of the ones that are S, and I get to pick one. And it's a one-time use thing, then it goes back in the deck, and you can either pick it again later or pick something else. Then, this is the activation deck. It actually replaces another deck from the base game, but all it does is says what monsters activate. These are mutations. When you do your setup, you give yourself one random mutation, keep it face down so you don't know what it is, unless you want to know. I mean, really, who's going to know? You're playing yourself, right? But when you get to radiation spot 5, you overturn your mutation, and it's just something that can be a benefit and something wrong. These are the encounter decks. Encounter decks, you'll always know them because they're going to have a star up here in the top corner. And you want to separate them and shuffle them, because when you get to these special locations, like whether it's a town or one of the little settlements, well, this isn't really a little settlement, it's Megaton, but you get the idea. You'll draw from that deck, and you'll have the encounter there, based on where it is. And there's a lot of different encounters on the different tiles. And that's really all there is to setup. It's not that complicated. There's a lot of cards, I'll give it that. Once you do it a time or two, the most difficult thing is setting up the tiles and keeping them from going all over the place. But once you get that, you're in good shape. On your turn, speaking of your turn, you can do two actions. One of the things you can do is exploring. If you are adjacent to a tile that is not overturned, and you'll look on these map tiles and you'll see that they have lines, and you'll see where they connect to the different map tiles. But if you're on one of those spots where it's not already overturned, as an explorer you can flip it over. So she's not though, because she's in the crossroads. So she'll be able to move. With moving, you get two move points. Normally going from one piece of a zone to another is a move point. It's one. There's two exceptions with it. One is the green down there. If you ever move into the green, you take one radiation. And the red sections, like right here, cost 2 to move into, 1 to move out of. That's how it is. So if I were to take my turn on this one, I would say I'm going to go 1 here, and since I'm trying to get to the vertibird, I'll explore here. One of the other things you're going to do during setup is you're going to put out monsters, creatures, things that you're going to be going up against. You're going to also do it when you overturn tiles, like we did here. And what you do is you look on the map tile, and you find the symbol that matches, and you put the token out. And once you get close enough to encounter it, or during the end of turn setup, if they activate, then they're going to flip over. But in the meantime, they don't know what we are, we don't know what they are. And you're going to have, like, your super mutants with your radiation. These are like your death claws and your big monsters. Humans, robots, and your bugs. And all of them are just here to, well, kill you pretty much. You know, they don't tend to like you very much. But, so we moved one. We explored, and I'm going to move another one, since I had 2 move points, into over here where it says ends meet. Now that's my 2 actions, so there's nothing else I can do for this turn. But if I were going to do other things, we could adventure, which is overturning these cards, or should I say encounter. You draw an encounter card. We could also fight if we were on with an enemy, or if we had a gun, which we do. We can camp, which allows us to both heal, and if we have a camp token, we can fast travel. But camp tokens are in another expansion, so we're not going to cover that for this one. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much what there is. Then after you're done, after your turn's over, you resolve one of these activation cards. This one says the mutants one and bugs. Well, we don't have any bugs around, but we do have the mutants one. So what that does is it says move it 1 closer to you. They ignore, they treat this whole thing as one zone since it wasn't discovered. If it was discovered, then they'd have to go through each of the zones on the way to you. But until it's found, they don't. And then it comes back to you, and that's your turn, and you keep going. Yeah, these quests, one is 3 workshop upgrades, another one is complete 1 vault, and then have 3, we have 2 of the 3 workshop upgrades. Well, you know what, I'm going to get us a different one, because we're not going to do the same one. That's kind of stupid. Kill 3 level 3 enemies. Oh man, that's going to be tough. I don't know if we're going to do that one. But that's a good thing that it brings up, though. Each of the enemies are going to have a bit of information on them. it'll have a picture, a pretty picture of what it is. It'll have its type, but it's also going to have its level. Now, its level is how many hits you need to have in order to kill it. It also tells you how many experience points you get. In the yellow part, it tells you any bonuses or negatives that you get. So because this is your standard handy dandy rad roach, it has one, it's level 1, and you see on the VATS guy, it has arms and legs. Now what does that mean? I'm glad you asked. What it means is when you roll this, you're looking to get arms or legs. So I got one set of arms, a body, and this one was a full body. That would kill the rad roach, absolutely, but here's the thing. All of these dots that you roll, that's the rad roach hitting you back. So not only would I get 1 radiation, I would take 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. So that's how a fight goes. And then you would put them on the bottom of the stack, stick them in a different stack, and then shuffle it later. I don't care how you do it. Neither does the game, really. You find a way that works best for you. The first action that we're going to do is the encounter. The encounter says you overturn one of the encounter cards, read the handy dandy flavor text, and then make a decision. So this one says, out of nowhere, a gray tabby cat races across your path. Ashes, a voice shouts. Ashes, come back. The cat trots forward for a few more feet, then turns around and stares at you. You can choose to ignore it and go shopping, which, you know, then you can spend your caps and buy cards. Or you can try to catch the cat, and it says AL4. Now what in the heck does that mean, AL4? And I get it, that's cool. What that means is you take these handy dandy VATS dice, and you roll them. And what you're hoping for is the number of dots to equal 4. Now what's the AL? Remember me telling you earlier about your special stats. If you have those letters, you can re-roll. That means I can say, I'm going to take one of these dice because I have one L, re-roll it. And I did not make it. But had I made it and rolled that double, then I would have completed that mission and I would be able to read the succeed. Otherwise, I'd have to read the fail. There you go. That's really all there is to an encounter. Now, there are going to be times when you find these story cards and it tells you to stage a story card. See, they even have, some of them will have the same backs. Some of them are going to have the lightning symbol, which means it stays out like our initial card. And the other ones will have backs just like this deck. And what you do when you get one of these is you take the top 3 cards, and this is what they mean by the staging, and you shuffle it in, and then now you have to find it. So you have to go to these different locations, have encounters in order, oh, lucky me, in order to try to find that card. So that's how that works. And when you're done, put it back in the stack, because you want to keep these things in numerical order. That'll save you a lot of time and a lot of a pain in the butt later. But if you fail the mission, discard it after reading the fail thing, or if you just go shopping, then discard it. So those are your main actions, and that's how you, pretty much how you resolve tests, is rolling those VAT dice. And your cards, your equipment, are also going to give you symbols, and like this one gives me an L if I didn't already have one. Well, I can actually use it to re-roll again on the L. But then this is a ranged symbol, which means if I want to fight this thing over here, one zone away, I can do that, which I'll show you. We already went over a fight. And then your items are going to have special abilities too. It says during a fight, if this card is in your inventory, your currently equipped weapon gains L. So even if you just have it set to the side in your inventory, it still gives you the L bonus. Alright, so that's where we sit, really. And you keep doing this until you reach those objectives that's listed on this card here. And again, it's going to say, like if it has the symbol for the shield and it tells the shield to activate, you look on here and say what it does. Most likely it's just going to move it down and down and down. Otherwise, your goal is to, well, in this case it's complete one of the goal cards and find card 55 by going through these objectives. So we did combat, we did fighting. Now if we had, let's say we didn't fight that thing, but it came up during an activation. Well, guess what? It's the same thing as a fight. What's going to happen is it'll flip over and it'll try to move and fight with us. And that's called the enemy activation. If like this one has a gun, but it also has a bag here, so when you beat this guy, you draw one of these tokens, or you draw one of these cards and you get whatever it gives you. He's a level 2, which means every hit done to you is 2 hits. So every dot here does 2 damage. So if I were to fight this thing right now, if I had anything to re-roll this, I promise you I would be. I've killed him, of course, because I got 2 of the body and or legs. But at the same time, I just took a lot of damage. And I get 1, 2 experience. But then he goes away. So when you kill something, they go away, and you put a brand new one face down. That face down one does not activate until they come back up on the activation again. Oh yeah, that activated too. We would bring that one closer, but we were just doing it for this example. And then on your next turn, you have 2 more actions. What are you going to do to explore the Capital Wasteland? In this case, unless you wanted to play Far Harbor, or you wanted to play the Commonwealth. But if this were me, I'm looking for either the wreck, or I'm going to go to Megaton. So, I'll take my first turn, go to here, and look, I found the Red Rocket Station. And there's a stack of map tiles I didn't use yet. Same thing with the reds. But I would first put out the enemy. I'd take 1 move, and then if I move into this green, I get radiation, or I can just move here, or I can stay here, and then encounter that on my next turn. But that's a decision that you're going to have to make when you play Fallout. Do I recommend the game? Yes, I do. The only difference is I don't recommend the base game. You need to get, if you want to play it cooperatively like I do, you want to get the Atomic Bonds expansion. Also get New California, because really it's just more stuff. You know, you get more stuff. Alright, and if you have any questions on Fallout, give me a holler, and I appreciate you hanging out, and have fun.